Like and subscribe and click the bell icon to get new video updates.
Climate change means 1 in 25 homes could become uninsurable by 2030. Report warns about 1 in 25 Australian homes are at high risk of becoming effectively uninsurable by 2030, according to a new Climate Council report based on analysis by a climate risk assessment group. That number rises to more than 1 in 10 homes for some of the most affected regions, including parts of Brisbane, the Gold Coast, Greater Sheraton, Ballina and Port Adelaide. The report authors warn that Australia is heading for an insurability crisis as climate change increases the risk of worse weather extremes, resulting in skyrocketing insurance premiums. We're talking about 500,000 properties. It is not insignificant, said Nikki Hughley, report co-author and economist with the Climate Council. This has implications for every single taxpayer in Australia. Of the top 10 electorates to be impacted, most, 80%, are due to the increasing insurance risk posed by riverine flooding, according to the Uninsurable Nation report, which was released today. Bushfire and surface water flooding, or overland flooding not associated with river swelling, also feature prominently in pushing insurance premiums higher in the coming years. When a property becomes effectively uninsurable, it means the insurance premiums are so high as to be unaffordable to the average homeowner, according to Carl Mallon from Climate Valuation, who provided the Climate Council with the data. Once there is more than a 1% chance in any given year of a property incurring major damage from an extreme weather event, that is when premiums start to escalate, Dr. Mallon said. Once you exceed that threshold, typically the costs start to increase. So instead of paying $1,000 a year, you get $3,000 a year and it climbs. We've seen premiums of $30,000 a year, he said. Essentially, we stand by the view that once you get above these levels, there will be many people who cannot afford this insurance. Had trouble getting insurance for your home? We'd love to hear from you. You can contact us at science@abc.net.au. Queensland is projected to be the hardest hit state, with up to 193,000 properties, 6.5% of the total number, deemed to be at high risk of uninsurability by 2030, followed by New South Wales with more than 148,000 properties. The findings were based on a business-as-usual, high-emissions outlook for climate change. Dr. Mallon said what banks and insurance companies choose to base their premiums on varies, but they are required to factor in business-as-usual forecasts. Read more the kind of guidance coming out from the governing regulatory bodies in Australia and around the world. They almost all insist that every company have a view on the high-emission scenarios, he said. Unfortunately, that is where we're tracking, is along those pathways. At this stage, the high-emission scenario is looking likely through to 2030, Ms. Hughley said. What we call the high-emissions, worst-case scenario is the path we're currently on with no pathway adjustments, she said. This is actually what we're facing down if nothing happens, and with the 2030 scenario, most of that warming is already baked in. The report also includes an interactive map with moderate and best-case emission scenarios, where users can explore outcomes through to 2100. Even under the moderate scenario, things still don't look that great, Ms. Hughley said. Financial help needed to build resilience in rural, regional towns in the federal electorate of Nichols in Victoria, which includes Sheraton, Moira, Campaspe, Mitchell and parts of Strathbogie Shire. As many as 1 in 4 houses are predicted to move into the insurance high-risk category by 2030. Strathbogie Mayor Laura Bink said her community was already living the reality of climate change right now, but she was still surprised to see how at risk the Strathbogie Shire could become. Seeing this report, yes, it is the high emissions, worst-case scenario outlook for our community, but it is really alarming and arresting, Councillor Bink said. In 2021, Strathbogie became the 100th council in Australia to declare a climate emergency. Councillor Bink said this report had reinforced the need to get emissions down. Read more. We absolutely welcome meaningful, climate action at the state and federal level that the scientists are telling us we have to take, she said. Councillor Binks said there were already a number of climate-positive projects in the Strathbogie Shire, including a microgrid at Euroa and carbon-neutral wineries, but that building resilience against future extreme weather events posed a bigger challenge. It is certainly a part of the work that our operations and engineering teams are doing, is looking at ways we can build resilience, she said. But the challenge we have at Strathbogie is we have a large area but a fairly